Okay guys, this is it, the most important part of the swing, the transition. It's one of the main reasons why I made these swing trainers, because it's really difficult to time the transition, and with the flexible shaft you can feel it load a little bit, so it just gives you a bit of time to get yourself in the right position for that transition. But let's take a look at it with Rory McIlroy again. He's using a 7-iron, so it's exactly the same club. But the big thing we want to look at, it's a bit controversial, is the spine angle or the spine tilt, because everyone's got it in the head it's got to be tilted back away from the ball, but it's just not the case. It's quite the opposite, and I think that's why a lot of people are struggling to strike the ball consistently. So look at the spine angle there. If you look at that figure, pretty much 90 degrees, and then as we sort of take it into the backswing, we can see that it's going in the opposite direction. So he's actually tilting his spine towards the target quite clearly. Going down to about 85.7 degrees tilt. That's a lot. What happens is he starts to get to the top, as his hips start pushing forwards, because that happens quite early on in the takeaway and backswing as well. It sort of pushes the spine back a little bit. As you can see, he's coming back to pretty much his normal position, and then as the hips continue pushing forwards, the spine does back up. You can see it backing up there quite a lot, especially through impact. And this is the slingshot action that I talk about. You can have a look at my videos. It's like, I call it a counterbalance, and that's really what's going on in the swing. So when you swing to the top of your backswing, your upper body sort of tilts towards the target or leans to the target, and then as you come down, your upper body tilts back, and then your arms sort of propel the club through a bit like a slingshot. But in the transition, you've got to make sure that your weight's in the right spot, because otherwise you're going to come over the top. If the transition's not right, that's the number one reason why you're going to come over the top. So let's take a look at that then. Actually, before we do, the other thing was looking at the shoulder turn. So it's really important, if you want to maintain your spine angle, which is important to give you a solid, consistent strike, your shoulders have got to turn down at an angle. So that's something that continues from the takeaway right into the backswing to the top of the swing. The shoulders are still turning at that steeper angle. The shoulders are pointing to the floor. Alright then, transition. Let's go face on. So what we're looking at, we're just going to get Rory to the top of the swing. He's getting back to his centre. We can see here he's almost right back to zero. There he is. He's into zero. Now he's shifting forward, and the club hasn't started down yet. Okay, so the pelvis is shifting forward. Now he's starting to transition. What he's actually doing is pulling the club. He's pulling the grip end of the club down. That's the first move. What I want you to do is look in the description. There's a video link from Chris Ryan who talks about how to efficiently move the club in the downswing, and it's the same action where you're pulling the club down. It's easier to do. What you don't want to do is you don't want to be pushing the club here with your hands. If you push on the club, it's harder, as Chris will explain, and you'll lose all of your lag straight away. So it's definitely a pull down move, and that was a key feeling I had. I remember playing when I was playing a lot of golf and playing really well. That's all I felt like. I was pulling the club straight down, because it kept my arms tucked in. My right arm would tuck into my right side. Everything was nice and connected. And it's important to get that right elbow, right arm closer, or keep it into your right side, because it helps you turn faster going through automatically without trying to think about doing it, because it's the same physics as an ice skater. So as an ice skater, as they're twirling around, when they pull their arms in close to the body, they're going to twirl a lot quicker. So the same thing happens in the golf swing. As we tuck the arms in coming down, the hips rotate a lot faster without any effort. So that's a key move we've got to get in there. So we're pulling the handle of the club down on a straight line towards the ball. Okay, what I want to show you as well is something to do with the hand speed. Let's see where we are. Alright, grip speed, here we go. Let's go grip speed. So We're just going to go to the top again, and obviously we're going to see the grip speed is really low, because when you're getting into the top of your swing and transitioning, you pretty much come into a standstill. But what you're going to notice, keep your eye on that grip speed there. It accelerates quickly, it goes up quickly. So it's accelerating the handle of the club with this part here very quickly in that transition, pulling it down towards the ball. So when we get to the mid-down position, the hand speed is at its maximum, 22.49 miles an hour. And we can see the wrists are still cocked. We've still got this lag angle here. And what happens is the club head releases, the hands are going to slow down now. This is what I talk about when your hands slow down. As the club head releases, your hands slow down, that squares the face. It also unloads the GForce shaft, it unloads all the flex and bend that you've got in it to help you square the face. That's how you do it. If you keep accelerating the hands too long in the downswing, if you kept on going, you wouldn't release the club properly. So at some point they've got to slow down, because if you look at that figure again now, as he carries on, it's going down, so his hands are slowing down. See that there? So they're decelerating. Right, so that's important. The first move on the way down, number one, you've got to make sure your pelvis is shifted forward of where it started. It's got to be forward of centre. Okay, number two, we're pulling the grip down. We're pulling it down as fast as we can, trying to create plenty of speed in the grip by pulling it towards the ball. That's the feeling to get. And then as your left side starts to extend up as you release the club, if you just let your wrist naturally unfold, that's going to unload the shaft, it's going to square the club face and give you a really efficient swing. You never want to be trying to hold on to this angle here. You've just got to pull on the grip. As you pull down, you'll maintain that angle. If anything, you'll increase it a little bit. As your hips are pushing forward and as you're pulling down, you're going to probably get a few more degrees hinge on it as well, which is even better. And then if you just let it go when it wants, that club face is going to naturally square, and there's no manipulation. You don't need to do nothing, which is the great thing. And one of the reasons why I really sort of invented these swing trainers is because I found a lot of my students found it really difficult to time this move here, this transition, when to start down. And what we want to try and do is the pelvis is shifting forwards towards the target. We basically want to make sure, so as your pelvis is going this way, as we could see that happening quite earlier on in the backswing, as it keeps shifting that way, you want to pull that grip down. But also, before you pull down, you want to wait for the GForce shaft to load, so that's going to flex a little bit there because of the weight of the club head. It's a standard weight head, but because the shaft's really flexible, when your arms and body stop, the head's going to carry on and just bend the shaft a little bit, so that's loading the shaft. So you're just waiting as you keep shifting forwards, and then you pull that grip down, pull it down, keeping the arms tucked in nice and close to the body. And that's really the key things that we want to be doing in the transition. You've got to get that weight forward. If it's not forward, if you start pulling your club down with your weight back, too far back on the right side, you're going to come over the top, you're going to swing out to in, you're going to slice it, and that's the reason why people slice the ball. There's no other reason. You can put a bunch of baskets out on the floor and alignment rods to try and stop you doing that, but you've got to have this, you've got to understand the swing technique, and that's why I've got this, and that's what I want to share with you, and just make you better, or give you a better understanding of the golf swing and what you need to do. And the GForce Swing Trainers really help because it gives you a feeling of whether you're doing it right or wrong, because if you're out of position, you can actually feel it in the shaft. You can feel the shaft sort of over flexing, and the best thing is obviously you can hit balls with it, which is what I wanted. I wanted to get feedback from the actual ball flight as well, because if you're not hitting the ball in the right direction with it, that's going to show up problems with your sequencing on the downswing. If you can't strike it at all, that's going to be really related to setup issues or swing tempo issues. So it helps all around really. But let's step outside, and then I can talk you through that downswing, and I can help you shallow the club on the way down, and get more club head speed, which is what you want to do. You want to make this swing as efficient as possible. Transition. This is probably the most important part of the swing. All right, every single tour player does this in the same way. Okay, there's some real key points that you got to get right. A lot of you who swing over the top, out to in, and slicing the ball, hitting the floor, topping it, thinning it, this is where you're going wrong. And if you want to maintain your lag on the way down, which is that angle between the left arm and the club shaft, or increase it, which is what all the tour players do, which is something I'm going to show you on gears. They actually increase the lag on the way down. You've got to get the transition right. So let's go through it. We've just talked about the backswing, where we're getting to the top, we're in position, okay? So as I mentioned, as we're getting to the top, the pelvis, or your weight, is actually shifting forward. So before I transition and bring this club down, I've already got my weight shifted forward. Now, what we do from here is keeping my back turned to the target, is we pull the club down. So it's a combination of, I'm still moving my weight forwards a little bit, it's still edging forward, but at the same time I'm pulling the shaft of the golf club down on a straight line towards the golf ball. Okay, that's the important thing. What we don't want to do when we're at the top is push the club. So a lot of you will push on it, so you're going to lose all that lag, you're going to cast it out. Main reason why a lot of you do that anyway is more the fact that you haven't got your weight forward, your weight's back here still, and it causes you to do that. So you've got to make sure your weight continues shifting forward as you pull the club down. Now this is what's going to shallow your club out, because what we're actually trying to stop ourselves from doing is rotating too soon. Because if I rotate my body, if I hold this club out and start rotating my body, what happens to the club? It swings out. So what a lot of players do when they get to the top, typically the weight's a little bit too far back, is they start rotating too soon. Shoulders, hips, everything's rotating. So what's going to happen, looking back at what I've just demonstrated, if you rotate too soon, everything's going to want to go this way, isn't it? So more out to in, which is a big problem for a lot of players. So what we're trying to do in that transition is keep shifting laterally. Okay, so we're not rotating, we're moving sideways, and pull the club down, because there's no force there to bring it out, because we're not rotating. So it's so much easier if I keep sliding forward, so much easier for me to then pull that club down, because we need to get it down quick, because your hands and the club have got much further to travel in your body. So again, what I'll show you in gears at some point is we'll see the tour players, as they bring the club down, how the grip end accelerates pretty quickly in the first stage of the transition, because they're trying to get the arms and club down to sync up with the body. Because once we get to here, then we can start to rotate through, because we've got the club down into the right position, and we can prevent it then from swinging out too much. So it's really getting us in a position where we're getting the hands and arms and club down to sync up with the body. So one feeling that I'm getting, and we see it again on gears, is the right elbow tucks into the right side. And you see pretty much every good player do that. There. Okay. If you look at a lot of amateur golfers, it's the opposite. They're out here. Okay, so get that weight shifted forward, keep it moving in that direction while you're pulling the club down, so you can get it down nice and shallow. There. Okay, also as we're pulling it down, pretty much returning back to where we were in the backswing, where the right arm is sort of opposite that right bicep. And again, you see a lot of tour players in that position. Still images you see there. Okay, you also see the hips are closed, aiming right. Also the shoulders are. Everything's aiming right there. Okay, so that's the position you want to be in. And then from there, you turn through it. Most players getting too much weight back, start rotating early. Club goes out. Okay, now you can see club's way outside, hips are open, shoulders are open, complete opposite to what all the tour players are doing. And you can do the same, you can do the same moves, as long as you can understand what you got to do, keep shifting your weight, pull it down, and then your body will respond and turn out the way.